So thanks so much for joining for today's session, which is Meet the Innovator with Bharat Ramani, who is President and CEO of Uplift Innovation Inc. It's such an honor to have you, Bharat, on the show today. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the invitation. I'm looking forward to interacting with you and the entrepreneurs out there.
Great. So I just wanted to start off with maybe give you a chance to tell us about Uplift Innovation Inc. What it is, what it's going to be doing.
So Uplift Innovation Inc. is a platform where we are looking at creating a social impact tech studio, accelerator, and a fund which is going to invest in startups which can improve the quality of life for people on the autism spectrum. So our focus is on autism tech and how we can bridge the gap between what's happening on the mainstream and how we can help people on the autism spectrum with the new technologies coming in AR, VR, or AI, machine learning, or robotics, and genomics. Our first step is looking at new technologies and also looking at existing technologies which have been used for either dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and how we can use some of those technologies into autism, or look at new technologies grounds up which can be used to improve the quality of life for people on the autism spectrum. Just wanted to tell you the definition, when we're looking at people, neurodiverse population and the people on the spectrum, our focus is not only on the people on the spectrum, but our focus is on the family as a unit. So we consider that it's very, very important that when there is a person on the spectrum within the family, the whole family is what we are looking at to improve the quality of life. Because the people at this stage, in post-COVID era, they are undergoing a tremendous pressure from all sides, in addition to what's happening. And people on the autism spectrum are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of learning, education, employment. We need to change the status quo for them. That's what our focus is.
Got it. And can you tell us a little bit more about what's inspired you to take up this work?
Yeah. So, just to, being a serial entrepreneur and lived in 6 countries in the last 30 years and always looked at entrepreneurs, I have a younger son on the spectrum, and when he was diagnosed, my whole life changed. I used to move from country to country to find out which is the best place to bring him up. And when you have this thing and you are shocked of how you can manage and what you should do, the resources which are available in different countries around the world are different. So and I found that I had to look at the right place where I can bring him up. So actually I did country hopping to find the best place to raise my child. So that he was the inspiration. And when I spoke to so many parents in a similar situation, and I found that they are also undergoing sometimes much more than what I am undergoing, and me and my wife undergoing. It was an awakening for me that if we need to do something, we need to do something for this population. And that is all the people on the spectrum were an inspiration for me to do something for them.
Wow, that's amazing. And so can you tell us more about, you mentioned technology and the need to leverage new technologies to be able to improve lives in such a way. What are you seeing in the space so far technology-wise? Is this an area where there needs to be a lot more attention, where people really aren't bringing new technologies to the market to support people who are on the spectrum? Or is this something that is now becoming possible with data and so forth?
Absolutely. I just want to mention one very important thing for the people, for the neurodiverse population. So if you have met one person on the spectrum, you have met one person on the spectrum. That's what it is there. So Dr. Shore, he was one of the person who said the statement. And, when you see that a lot of personalization is required for this population, what better technology than AI and machine learning can be used to really personalize the interventions, the solutions, the therapies which can be given to them. And we are at a time where AI and machine learning are coming into prominence. So data is going to be a key. But you know, the biggest problem in this space is there are a lot of silos within the whole ecosystem. We need to break these silos and see how we can all work together to see that whatever is out there, whatever data is out there, can be integrated in a way which can really help us to find more of the problems and come with solutions. And one good thing which has happened in all this is now the world is becoming more human post COVID, in terms of our understanding others' point of view instead of only talking about our point of view or my point of view. So when we look at that, and when we look at the whole situation where now the global research community, the global community is coming together to find solutions for COVID, why not we look at autism? You know, because 1% of the world's population is in the space. And not only autism, I'm looking at neurodevelopmental delays and neurodiversity. I'm looking at learning difficulties. All of that can be pulled into one thing, and then we can focus on identifying solutions from other space into this space. But we need to change the status quo. It's very, very important. And you know, this space needs a lot of help and support. That's what we are trying to do.
Got it. I was wondering if you could maybe give us some examples of some of the innovations that you've already witnessed that are happening in the ecosystem. Any companies that you think are particularly doing a good job of offering something to the market that is innovative and helpful?
Yeah, so you know, I am actually working with few companies, and one of them is Stronger Brains, which is very, very interesting in the sense that, you know, it has so many different dimensions in which it is trying to understand what's happening, and it is all playing through interactive games and different situations where it is uh, uh, trying to see how and what activity is impacting or creating a better outcome. And a lot of data is coming out of the Stronger Brains platform. So I like that. And, you know, the people who are running that, they are great innovators, and they are helping to build programs and solutions which are non-invasive, you know, and which is just playing games and doing interactive things which can help them into first understanding and then creating solutions for them, including a lot of things in mindfulness is coming into play in this platform. So all those things are playing a role into bringing about a better outcome. There are some other solutions in the marketplace which are helping to diagnose the person online without even you know. So if you have this autism, or you're on the spectrum but you don't know about it, so there are a lot of diagnosis solutions coming for autism, and they are diagnosing from various different use cases in terms of organizing, or in terms of social interactions and other areas. And then to get the diagnosis, not only that, you know, these are the areas, but these are the solutions you can use. So the parents itself can be educated and use those solutions to do it. And then, you know, and also some of these solutions are helping to bring the cost down for the therapies and the solutions, and it is giving power to the parents to use them, learn them, and actually create an impact on their own son. And so, you know, there are so many parents who really are confused when they are experiencing this issue. And there are a lot of startups which are trying to address these issues, and they are coming up with new technologies. They're using machine learning to collect the data, and then they're trying to see what solutions are out there. So our whole idea is to really encourage new entrepreneurs to come into this space encourage new mentors to come into the space, and that's what we are trying to do.
Got it. So we have a question from the audience, I think, that kind of builds on what you're just talking about. So she asks, she says, New Jersey, she believes, has a large autism population. Now, Bharat, I know you're based in New Jersey. How are you going about creating partnerships and how people can access these resources?
Yeah, so we are at a very early stage of building this ecosystem. We were planning to launch this time, but because of COVID, a lot of things have changed. So we are planning to launch by end of this year. But so the most important thing for any entrepreneurs or startups is getting access to the beta customers and funding as well as mentorship, and that's what we are trying to do. But in New Jersey, there are so many different institutions which we are working with on building this platform. So we are a little early on that stage, but I'm ready to be in touch with any of them, and they can write to me, and I can, if there is any startup which is very interesting and what they are looking at, I can definitely point out to them.
We have another question. How should employers approach hiring individuals with autism? Your thoughts on that?
It's a very important question. So there is a whole institution called and an organization, a group called Autism at Work. I don't know if this person is aware of that group, but Autism at Work has many different partners who are doing in different parts of the of state. Also, there are different institutions which are doing and helping. So you're talking about how do you get them? So there are a lot of institutions like Specialiston, as well as who are working with the employers and helping them onboard the employees. There is another institution called Divergent, which is focusing on startups in this space. There is also another institute called Ultra Testing. So there are many institutions which are helping to create a bridge between the employees and the employer. So instead of you going to the organization, the employer directly, you should use the bridge companies which are there, and they can help you to transition. And because they're looking at how do you understand the person and understand the company, and they act as a bridge. So best way to work with them is act as a bridge. So you have to go to the bridge organizations which can help you to go to the employers. Instead of you going to the employers directly or trying to apply, there are many bridge organizations which you can use. That's the best approach I've seen so far.
Each person tackling autism is unique. What are some of the denominators of people who are on the spectrum that entrepreneurs should be aware of as they're thinking about ways that they can approach improving lives of people on the spectrum?
So there are, as I described to you, when you look at the spectrum, there are people who are on the non-verbal side to very high, in terms of the capabilities. But, one of the component is, the social and the emotional sort of level of what they are in terms of interaction. And also that is a key area where, people need to look at. How can you bring in technologies which can improve people who are non-verbal, how you can help them to communicate with different people. And also there are a lot of things are coming in the communication side, so that's an area for improvement. There are a lot of areas in terms of even managing the day-to-day life for these people. So look at different things which a normal person does, and the person on the spectrum has difficulty even continuing a conversation. So there are some startups which are trying to create and even the communication for these startups, for the people on the spectrum, like Silas Solution is there. It is a New Jersey based startup which is helping through animation. They are doing it, and they are using very simple tools like a Xbox controller to do and help on that. So There are all these things are very interesting, which are coming out in the marketplace.
And what in your view needs the most help? Can you give us some examples of?
There are a lot of a person asked about employment, right? So what are the things required for a person on the spectrum to be successful in the employment? I think this is one of the key areas. And I have seen many startups coming in for people who are at elementary and at the middle school level, but at the high school, at the transition level, you know, from school to a college environment, or from college environment to an employment, the whole life cycle post 18 needs a lot of help. So if we can build technologies in that part of the things, that will be very interesting. Second area is even living at home. So you know, how they can improve their quality of life and independence at home. So creating new tools which are there. You know, now we have IoT, and we have new sensors and new different ways of looking at things. So how we can create new tools and new solutions which can make their lives better. And I think these are all the opportunities which we can come and do it. And I'm looking at, you know, even in terms of learning, we are looking at VR and AR based solutions, which are now being you know, people are talking about these technologies. The biggest problem is that whole hardware cost of this platform is at the higher side. And as the people start using it and building it up, this can become a very important tool. So building solutions on VR, which you know can help people on the spectrum understand the landscape of employment, the activities they need to do and all in the virtual environment. So the training part of it, there are some startups building it, but we have to build better and better and new solutions in the space, so that they can be transitioned from, you know, from the college to the employment using this new technologies and platforms. So a lot of help is needed in that side of things, which can really help people on the spectrum and neurodiverse population too.
Got it. And what would you say to entrepreneurs who are interested in entering the space, but they don't have medical backgrounds, they're not health experts? What would you say to them as far as whether or not they're relevant and can be relevant in the space, or how to approach that?
Yeah, see, this just want to share that it is not necessary that you have to be in the health space. This area of people who are in the neurodiverse population, the people which are impacted, they have problems related to education, they have problems related to communication, they have problems. So everything is not related to healthcare. You know, it is training, it is education, it is employment. So all different aspects are there. So even if you are not in the space of medical and health expert or a medical professional, you can still enter into the space. And most important thing I would suggest to any of these entrepreneurs is to partner with some companies who have a great insight into this space, but either they don't have the abilities in terms of technology, or in terms of finance, or in terms of building a startup. So the best thing is to partner with um, with a parent or a sibling of a person on the spectrum. They can be your best partner and guide for you to find out opportunities and navigate the things, because they will be able to give them so much of knowledge about this space, because they are experiencing every day. So these are the things which they have to bring, to look at entrepreneurs who can actually help to partner. You know, that is what is going to so find partners who are experiencing this. That's the best way to create an organization, or if they need any information, or take them as mentors for your companies if you have any expertise. But that is the best way to start looking at building a company with their support.
In this time, because obviously we have the backdrop of the COVID-19 crisis, and that's changed a lot of the ways that people spend their time and their days, and there are certain stressors now that everyone's dealing with that are different than before. I was wondering if you could hone in a little bit more on how the COVID-19 crisis might affect people on the spectrum specifically, in ways that, you know, we might not, if you're not on the spectrum, you might not understand or intuitively relate to, how we can make improvements, you know, through innovations.
So the biggest impact which has happened for the people on the spectrum is, you know, they many of the people on the spectrum, they need face to face and one to one interaction. And you know, and so when you are offsite, or you know, when you are learning in the Zoom platform, you know, it is very, very difficult sometimes for some of the people on the spectrum, or I would say more than 50% of the people on the spectrum, to get used to this thing, because they are, you know, and the people who are working with them, they in terms of the education or in terms of the learning or employment, they need to see their body language, you know, to work with them and all of that. And this has become a real challenge for the people on the spectrum. And remember that when there are people on the spectrum, there it's a challenge for the whole family. You know, even before COVID, the you know, only there is a likelihood that only one of the parents was able to work, you know, and one parent was needed to support the person on the spectrum. And now with this situation, you know, it has become a really, you know, complex situations are coming up, which is bringing stress to the families. So you know, this is a big change which has happened. And you know, because they need face to face interaction, they need to work closely. And when you're doing in an off-site environment or remote environment, all these challenges are coming up. And remember, some of the things about isolation, depression, and all these issues, you know, because we are not, having so much of live interaction and all, you know, they are really missing it, you know, and that is what has, so creating solutions more from, you know, how do you create new solutions where you are able to see and keep them engaged, monitor them in this environment. It is really, really difficult. So a lot of startups, if are needed to come up and see, because we don't know how long the situation will last and how far it will be, how long, how many years or how many months we need to, be in this situation. But this is becoming very, very difficult.
Often we speak about how diversity ends up, as it informs innovations, ends up making innovations so much better, and brings new value that people wouldn't have expected. Um, I assume that the same goes for the community of people on the spectrum, that innovations that are built for them will be obviously very good for them, but then everyone should be able to appreciate as well. There must be a lot of value that they can bring to the conversation around innovation. I was just wondering if you have any ideas that come to mind about, you know, innovations for people on the spectrum that you think are also really helpful for everybody or other groups.
Absolutely. You know, I think one very interesting thing is about, and that is happening in terms of improving your focus and attention through eye tracking, you know. So a lot of this people who are on this, or neurodiverse people, they have issues of focus and attention. And as you know, the new iPhone or new things which are coming up, you know, they will have eye tracking built into the equipment. So a lot of games are coming where you don't need to play with your hands or your mouse or this thing, but you're playing with your eyes. This type of things are going to really improve even a normal person in terms of our focus and attention. We are already in a distracted world. You know, so much of distractions are there. And to bring it back to the focus, some of the things which are being built for the people on the spectrum to improve their focus and attention are now coming onto the mainstream. So eye tracking was actually started for people on the spectrum, and you know, creating games and all of that for them to improve their focus and attention. The same things and can now people are adopting in, you know, the new iPhones and new devices which are going to come will have inbuilt, you know, some of those things, including the new VR and AR handsets, you know, are going to have those things. So that is a thing which it started with you know, specifically for other communities, but now it can be used for the people on the for a normal population.
Wow, that's amazing. That's such a great example. I'm certainly looking forward to experimenting with some of these innovations over time too. I think that's great. But I want to give you a chance in the meantime to add anything about Uplift that you think that we should know, and maybe help us understand a little bit better how you see it fitting into the innovation ecosystem in the New York metropolitan area over time.
Yeah, you know, I am at a journey very early in the early stage of the journey, and I am, you know, I'm always looking for startups in this space who are doing innovative things. And, you know, my focus is, you know, we are looking at startups which can really impact the lives of the people on the spectrum. So startups is one thing I'm looking at. If there are any mentors who are interested and looking for working with the startups in the space, I would love to hear from them. And impact investors, you know, we are always want impact investors to come and join and help us in the journey of helping the startups become successful. And I think there is a lot of opportunity in this space. So I would welcome new startups, new impact investors who are not in this space, and mentors. And this is what, you know, and thank you again for giving me this opportunity. I'm looking forward to interacting more with you and your audience. And thank you once again.
Well, thank you so much. And just to end, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So, you know, I can, LinkedIn is the best way, Bharat Ramani, you know, on LinkedIn and Uplift Innovation. That's the best way to do it. I think that platform is so good that, you know, you know, and they can mention about the discussion, or they have seen me on this platform, and that would be great, so that I can relate to where I'm getting the request from. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
Great. So thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and very inspired by your story and by your work. I have a feeling we're going to see more of you in the coming months. So
Thanks, John. Thank you. And thanks to Impact Hub for having me today. Thank you.